Okay, another bond video here, and this time we're going to be looking at calculating the present value of a bond and also amortizing the first few payments we have on that bond and journalizing. So, kind of in a nutshell, this is everything we're doing here. Chapter 12 with regards to calculating present values of bonds, amortization of bonds and the interest on them, carrying amounts of bonds, and journalizing bonds. So, we've got ABC Company here. They're issuing $600,000 of 7% 6-year bonds payable on January 1st, 2018. The market rate of the date of issuance was 6%, and the bonds pay interest semi-annually. And the first thing we need to know is how much cash did the company receive upon issuance of the bonds payable. Number two is preparing an amortization table for the bond using the effective interest method through the first two interest payments. And the third part is journalizing the issuance of the bonds on January 1st, 2018, the first and second payments of the semi-annual interest amount and amortization of the bonds on June 30th, 2018 and December 31st, 2018. So, number one is how much cash did the company receive upon issuance of the bonds? Well, here we've got to calculate the present value of the bonds. And remember, whenever we're dealing with bonds and we have to calculate these things, two things that we need to know offhand. Number one, the number of periods we have. And remember, the number of periods when we talk about this is the years multiplied by compounding periods per year. Compounding periods per year. So in this case, they're 6-year bonds, so we have 6 years, and they're compounded semi-annually. So 6 times 2 is 12. We have 12 periods. 12 periods, and we'll circle that. And then the other thing that we need to know is the percentage or interest rate per period. And remember, that's the APR divided by periods per year, or compounding periods per year. So in this case, our rate per period, let's see, the market interest rate, remember we use market rate here, is 6%. So we have 6%, and we're doing this semi-annually. So divided by 2 is 3% per period. And we will circle that so it's easy for us to find. Now, number one says how much cash did the company receive upon issuance of bonds? And the way I'm going to work this out, I'm going to use the formula. And if you remember, we'll use green on this. Remember, for a present value, that's equal to the future value over 1 plus the interest rate to the number of periods. Okay, and this is present value of 1. This is a lump sum. Put this here. Lump sum. For present value of an ordinary annuity, remember, this is a little bit different, but this is 1 minus 1 over 1 plus r to the n, and this whole thing divided by the rate per period. So, if we go to answer number 1, the first thing we need to know is the present value of the face amount, or the face value of the bond. Okay, well, we know that face value of the bond is $600,000. Since that is a lump sum, it's only payable once, we are going to use the present value of a dollar, present value of a lump sum equation here. So we know the future value, that's the $600,000. So in essence, we have 600,000 over, and 1 plus r to the n. Well, remember, our r is 3%, n is 12. So we have 1 plus 3% is 1.03 to the 12th power. So the present value of the face value or face amount or maturity value, whatever you want to call it, of this bond. If we calculate this out, and this says round to the nearest dollar, is $420,000, $420,828. Okay, this is the present value of that $600,000 that is the face value of the bond. Now the second part of this again is the present value of the interest payments. So we have to have present value of interest payments. And the present value of interest payments, well, we've got to calculate the interest payments first. We know the bond is $600,000? And let's do this in red. We have $600,000. It pays 7% per year, so times 0.07, but it's doing it semi-annually, so times 1/2 or 0.5 or 1/2 being 2 times per year. So if we divide by 1 by 2, we get 1/2. So 6 times 7% is 42,000 times 1/2 is $21,000 in interest that this company pays out every 6 months to borrow on this bond. So essentially, what we're doing is we're saying, okay, we're going to take the interest payment per period, and that's 21,000. We're going to multiply that by, and we're going to use our formula here. Now, if you want to use the table, you can use the table. Remember, tables will not give you an exact figure. Many of my classes' homework assignments will be using the table, so feel free to do that. But with the formula, what we're going to have is 21,000 times 1 minus 1 over 1.03 to the 12th power, and everything divided by 0.03. And if we work this out, what we will get is $209,034. And this is the present value of all of those interest payments. So 6-year bonds, the 12 interest payments that we have at $21,000 each, that's the present value of them. If we add these two numbers together, the $420,828 and the $209,034, we get the present value of the bond. So the present value of the bond, which is also equal to the cash the company will receive for issuing the bond, is equal to the $420,828 plus the $209,034, which equals, let's see, $629,862. $629,862. This is the current cash value of the bond. That is what the company will receive when they issue this bond, providing they have enough people buying. So that's number 1. That's the cash value. Now, after this, we have number 2 says prepare an amortization table for the bond using the effective interest method. Now, the way that we do this for number 2, we're going to look at a few things here. As the company is issuing the bond, we have to pay interest every so often on this bond. Every 6 months, we're paying this $21,000. Okay, so we're going to have a column for cash paid. Now, we also have an interest expense. It costs us for borrowing this money. We're going to have how much of this premium, because remember, this bond was issued at $629,000 and the face value was $600,000, so we know that's a premium. So we're going to have to amortize this premium. And then we have the carrying amount of the bond. So, we issued this bond on, let's see, 1/1 of 2018. So, on 1/1 of 18, we don't have anything yet, but we do know the carrying amount to start with is going to be equal to the $629,862. Now the first interest payment we have, this is paid semi-annually, remember, so on 6/30 of 18. Well, the cash that we have to pay, we calculated here, it's the $21,000. We pay that much in total on the face amount of this bond. The interest expense we have, well, we have to calculate the interest expense here. And we use the carrying amount to do that. And let's see, where can I make it? I'm going to make this a little smaller, maybe. Yeah, a little bit smaller. Make us a little smaller, and over here we'll put the interest expense. Okay, so interest expense that we have is equal to the carrying amount multiplied by the market rate. So our carrying amount is $629,862. The what was the market rate there? The market rate was 6%. Here it is. But remember, we're looking at that per period, so it's 3% per period. So essentially, if we multiply that by 0.03, let's do some quick calculations here. 629,862 times 0.03 is 18,896. That's our interest expense. So we have 18, oops, let's change the color here back to blue. 18,896. Okay? The premium amortization amount is just the difference between these two. So that's $2,104, I hope. Now, since the carrying amount is larger than the face value of the bond, we're going to subtract, and this is a premium, we will subtract this amortization amount from the carrying amount to give us a new carrying amount. And the carrying amount here is now $627,758. Okay? Now when we go on to 12/31 of 18, our cash paid, the amount we have to pay on interest on this bond is the same. That doesn't change. However, our interest expense is now calculated, remember, off the carrying amount. So we now, for this second interest payment, we're looking at $627,758 multiplied by our 3%, and that gives us $627,758 times 0.03, 18,833. So we will have $18,833 for interest expense. The premium amortized, again, is the difference between these two, $2,167, which means our carrying amount now is, let's see, 625, and 758 minus 167 is 591. So that's now our carrying amount. Now, if we continue this amortization table throughout the 6 years, it is 6 years, right? Yeah, the 6 years we have this bond, at the end, the last payment we have on this bond will coincide with the maturity date of the bond, which is when we have to pay the full amount out, and the carrying amount will be $600,000. So this is number 2. This is an amortization table for the first two interest payments on this bond. Now, if we go back up, number 3 says to journalize the issuance of the bond on January 1st and the first and second payments of the interest amount and amortization of the bonds on June 30th and December 31st. So let's go down and do this. So number 3 is just journalization. So, if you remember, the cash we received is $629,862. So as the issuing company, we receive cash, and we're going to debit that for the $629,862. Okay. We know the face amount on the bond is $600,000, and that's going to be our bonds payable. So we'll have bonds payable, and we will credit that for the $600,000, and the difference between the two is our premium. Premium on bonds payable. And the difference is $29,862. So there's the issuance of the bond. I guess I should make a little room here. We'll put 3 over here, and we'll put this for 1, 1. That was the date. Now on 6/30, we're paying interest. And we have to look at this in a sense of what we're paying out here. We know we're paying out $21,000 in cash. That's here. Okay, so we're going to know, or we do know, we have a credit for cash for the $21,000. Now, looking at this, our interest expense, we've calculated an amortization table here, and so has our premium amortization. So essentially, we have an interest expense of the $18,896, and we are now debiting this premium on bonds payable, because remember, we would need to get that to zero, and the amount there is $2,104. On December 31st, again, we have interest expense, we have premium on bonds payable, and we have cash. The cash doesn't change. The cash we have to pay out is always $21,000 in this case. However, if we go back up to our amortization table, we can see our interest expense is now $18,833. And our premium is now, what, the $21.67. So this is how we journalize the bond. And when we're looking through this stuff, this is important to remember. The amortization table can help us a lot in calculating our interest payments per period, especially figuring the interest expense and the premium that has to be amortized. Remember, the cash amount paid will never change out when we're issuing these bonds. The cash amount paid out for interest is always going to be the interest rate stated on the bond multiplied by the face value, and then we'll divide that by the number of compounding periods per year. So here's a general overall view of calculating present value of the bond here. Here we did present value of the bond. Here we did an amortization table, and essentially we amortized using the effective interest method, which means essentially all we're doing is multiplying the market rate by the carrying amount. That gives us our interest expense per period. The difference between the two is the premium amortized. If this bond would have been issued at a discount, this would be the discount amortized. The carrying amount would be lower than the face amount, and we would build up on the carrying amount to a point we hit the face amount of the bond. In the third part, we're journalizing the issuance of the bond here. This is issuance of the bond. This is the interest payment, the first interest payment. This is the second interest payment. Now, if these were discounts, the discount, the interest expense would be higher than the cash paid, and the discount would end up being a credit here instead of a debit. So I hope this helps more with bonds. Have any questions, concerns, leave me a comment. One of my students can call, text, email, whatever the case may be. Anyways, have a good day and practice your accounting. Bye.